see our beautiful faces.
Let's do it before the episode so you're nice and loose. Timer's going on.
Apparently, Popovich benched the starters after the first 3 minutes.
Who mentioned that?
They went down 15-4, and Popovich benched everybody.
Today?
Yeah, just a couple of 15 minutes ago.
You guys ready?
Yes.
Lau looks like he's researching something.
No, I'm ready.
Lau just always looks constipated.
All right, count me down.
5.
Welcome back to another episode of JNJ Talk Sports Podcast. Today we are going to be discussing a lot of different sports all around the world, especially in our favorite segment, Worldwide News. We're going to be talking about some baseball all-season moves that we believe that the Yankees should make. Talk about the Knicks and the Nets and how the basketball season is shaping up. We're going to throw in some football as well and talk about what our fellow Jet fan co-hosts think about Sam Darnold and the future of this Jets team. Make sure you follow our podcast page at JNJTalksports on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure to email us at jnjtalksports@gmail.com with any questions, concerns, comments, and or future topics you would like to discuss. I'm your host, Justin Palizzi. You can follow me on Twitter at easypalizzi_21. That's easy, POLIZZI_21. Joining me this week, like every other week, one of my two overly large size co-hosts, Lau. How's it going, buddy?
I'm feeling very centered. I completed my yoga today. I hopefully will keep it calm the entire podcast.
Feeling very zen.
I'm feeling very centered, one with the universe. My chakras are aligned. As always, I am your boy, Lyle Style. You can follow me at LYLESSTYLE. And I'm going to go wild, but hopefully I can keep it zen until then and keep all my frustrations inside of me. But it's going to be very hard because another co-host who's also with us likes to rile me up for funsies. Nick, how are you doing today?
Lyle, it's a sport for me to get you out of your zen mode. I'm the reason why you need to start going to yoga more often. But anyway, hello fellas. Again, it's your boy Nick. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at StefanoN51. That's STEPHANOUN51. And let's get cracking with this worldwide news. Justin, you can lead us off.
Yeah, so this is recent news that just surfaced about, I want to say 3 hours ago before we started recording this podcast. It was reported about a week ago that Mayweather was supposed to fight Tenshin Nasukawa, the 18-0 kickboxer in Japan. There was supposed to be a legitimate fight between the two of them in Japan. It was supposed to be a pretty purse for Mayweather, but apparently, Lyle, what did Mayweather think this was supposed to be?
It's really difficult because I'm not sure if he actually read anything about this, so I'm not sure he knew what was going on. Hashtag literacy matters. Hashtag everyone needs to read.
Yeah, so he actually thought it was going to be a regular expedition match, 3 rounds, that he was going to get paid a lot of money, and it would basically just be fought in front of like a bunch of rich people. So I guess Mayweather didn't read between the lines, and now that fight is no longer. We're going to go ahead and talk about another fighting sport, and that's UFC. And Lyle, unlike everybody else in the world, does not like UFC for some reason.
Because it's not – they need to know who they are as an organization. Are they going to be WWE, or are they going to be a legitimate fighting competition? Because
so are you singling out are you singling out Conor McGregor, or you have a thing with UFC as a whole?
No, I would say –
because Conor McGregor is more of the Showtime.
Well, it's Conor McGregor. There's
relentless.
A couple of fighters. There's that entire division. What is it, like featherweight, or that entire division's a joke. But also Cormier starting beef about nonsense. Like, stick to your talents. Yes, I understand there is a showman to it. But when Muhammad Ali got in front of the crowd, he spoke with purpose. He spoke with passion. It wasn't nonsensical middle school, I banged your mom jokes. It was passion. It was fire. This is just
throwing barricades and
WWE. it's WWE nonsense that I see from the UFC, not the fire that we saw from the Alis, from the Tysons, from the, even from the De La Hoyas, from the Pacquiaos. We're looking at the UFC again. It's a complete joke, but people enjoy it because some of the fighters are entertaining. Again, Daniel Cormier beat Derek Lewis. This doesn't matter to me because Bones Jones owns Cormier's soul. And, until Cormier can beat Bones, he's nothing. And yes, I know Cormier, does every single drug ever imaginable, but he's also super talented. So again, this match meant nothing to me because I don't like the UFC, but also Bones Jones is just exponentially better.
Yeah, and the reason why this fight had any relevancy to it was, Daniel Cormier was fighting, but he fought Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis was the guy who fought in the Khabib and McGregor card, and he's the one that won by knockout, and he was like USA in this hole. You remember that one, that UFC fighter, the one that
yeah, of course.
He went from like 100,000 followers on Instagram to like almost 1 million because like he had like the whole world behind his back. He fought a month later. He fought Cormier, but he knows he wasn't a good fighter. He knows he was just basically chasing the money, and good for him. But I do expect to see a rematch between Cormier and Bones in the future. Hopefully, John Bones could stay on the straight and narrow throughout the rest of his career. But
unlikely.
Yeah.
The way he's going.
Yeah. La, you want to go ahead and kick us off with some soccer? No pun intended.
Yes, the football, the football that everyone else calls football. These past couple days, again, Champions League is back, match round 4. A lot of these groups have been settled. I'm going to talk about two things. Firstly, we're going to talk about Juventus today playing Man U, up 1-0 off of a beautiful Cristiano Ronaldo first touch.
68th minute.
Yeah, the ball was lobbed over his head. He first touched right foot, just blazes it past the goaltender. Then, to Juan Mata's credit, beautiful free kick. No one's stopping that free kick. And then a beautiful set piece right after that led to an own goal by Alexandro. Did Juventus let it slip away? Yes. Are they still first in their group? Yes. And they have the young boys and Valencia left to play. They're probably going to come out top of their group. The only thing interesting in that group is if Valencia can top Man United in that group. The other group I do want to talk about in the Champions League is the group of death, which is not Barcelona, Inter, Tottenham, because Tottenham's a choke. It's Napoli, Liverpool, PSG. 6 points for Napoli, 6 points for Liverpool, 5 points for PSG, and Red Star Belgrade, who beat Liverpool
4 points.
With 4 points. This is anyone's group, including Red Star. Now, let's be honest, Red Star Belgrade most likely will not pull a Leicester City and just come out on the top of this group. But we do not know who's going to come out of this, and we do not know who's going to get in third place and drop down to the Europa, because they'll be automatic favorites for Europa. This is going to be the most interesting group to watch these next few weeks. Everyone else is really jockeying for position, but this is the group where 1 through 4, you have no idea, and I'm excited for it. Lastly, again, all the leagues are kicking off. Everything, Bundesliga is very interesting with Bayern struggling. La Liga is interesting with Real Madrid struggling in that table in flux and Messi's out still. But again, as Americans, we got to love the Premier League. And the biggest game, the game to watch this week, right before the NFL, if you want to get those sports juices flowing, Sunday, 11:30 a.m., Manchester City, Manchester United. One of the biggest rivalries, one of the biggest current rivalries in the Premier League is going to be on display. Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, battling it out yet again like they did in Real Madrid and Barcelona back in the day. I definitely recommend every single person watch that game. It's going to be exciting to watch some Man City and try out some soccer. If anyone who's listening wants a team to follow in soccer, I will ask them some questions and I'll pick a great team for them. It won't be Arsenal if they're not an Arsenal leaner from their questions, but I will find a team that suits you as a person. And that's it for soccer right now. But a lot of things are going on, boys.
It's not. Soccer's not done yet because a little bit disappointed. We have the conference semifinals going on here right now in the MLS.
I'm very nervous about it because the Red Bulls, the first leg of their semifinal, not too hot. I think they went down 1-0, and that has me very, very nervous.
So they still
very,
should
very
be
nervous.
able to win the cup. No.
We won. We had the most points in the league. We won the Community Shield or whatever they call it. But we should beat them. But the Red Bulls, they make me nervous. As do Arsenal.
And this is what New York fans do with their sports teams. We don't mention the teams by their name. We just mention we. We are going to win. We, the Giants suck. We, the Jets, hate Sam Darnold. That's how we pretty much refer to our sports team.
And if you don't know, again, the two reasons why I'm a huge Red Bull fan: A, they were the first New York team for the MLS, and B, Daddy Thierry Henry played for them as well. And again, I'm excited, but I'm nervous for the game coming up this weekend.
All right, Nick, you want to go ahead and kick us off some college basketball? We had our first games yesterday. We had a lot of teams playing. And before Nick touches up and gives us a little recap of the big game between Duke and Kentucky yesterday, some notable teams that played yesterday. Lau, your alma mater, Buffalo, won by a score of 20 points. They won by. We had NC State also.
There is a reason Buffalo got top 25 votes, fam. Be on the lookout. Take notice today and be like, yeah, I always knew about Buffalo. And you can show your friends that you think you're better, and you will be.
Yeah, right. NC State beat Mount St. Mary's 105-55. We had another couple of games. Harvard beat MIT 78-66. We have Notre Dame. Sports in Notre Dame are staying hot as of late, 84-67 against the USC Flames. We had NJIT, local school nearby, beating Colgate. We had South Carolina beat USC upstate 65-52. Some of the bigger games. Like Clemson beat Citadel 100-80. Villanova 177 over Morgan State. Kansas, number 1 ranked Kansas beat number 10 Michigan State 92-87. Purdue,
close game.
Yeah, Purdue 90-57. Purdue starting off 24th ranked this year, pretty good for them. UNC 8th rank on the road against Wofford 78-67. Syracuse, baby, staying dominant as well, 16th ranked at home 66-34 against Eastern WA.
That's that zone defense, bro. Zone defense.
Destroys Idaho State 120-79. Yeah, Florida State wins, Auburn wins, UCLA, LSU, Washington. Pretty much every ranked team won except for one. Number 2 Kentucky at home against
for Kentucky.
Number 2 Kentucky at home against number 4 Duke. Nick, you want to recap that game for us? How did Kentucky get dominated so badly at home?
Well, it's your boy Zion. Zion is killing it out there. He had 28 points in 23 minutes, 11 for 13 field goal. Dude, they scored 118 points, if I'm saying this correctly, to 84.
Yeah, it's 83 points. The 3 freshmen scored.
They shot 54 from the field, 46 from the 3. Dude, it's unreal.
RJ Barrett was scoring like from all parts of the floor. And the crazy thing is, Kentucky got outscored in the first half 59-42. They got outscored in the second half 59-42. So it was a pretty even on both sides of that.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to remember. Again, we've been seeing Zion Wilson for 5 years because he's been in high school for 5 years, apparently, just dunking on fools. I feel like I was raised by his dunks, even though I'm 95 years older than him. But he's the most flashy of the players because of these dunk highlights. But RJ Barrett at the moment is the best prospect. He can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble. Zion's a very close second if he can develop a jump shot.
He has a little Jimmy.
Yeah,
They're giving him the LeBron comparison.
Well, everyone needs to slow down. But this, again, we need to see how his knees hold up against that 285 pounds of mass. But this is good. Duke is going to be a fun team to watch again. Not the gritty teams. This is going to be a flashy, aggressive, physical, fun team. And I'm very excited, as much as I hate to say that out loud.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and jump the ball here, and I'd probably say they are probably the favorites to win it, in my opinion, and I probably would put money on them right now. In the past, Duke has always relied on their teams to make the 3-ball shot. this is the first team, like you just said, Lyle, that they're actually going to look like they're going to be physical with other teams, both defensively and offensively. And if you got a guy like Zion, who's, I mean, he's 6'6", right? 6'6", 280 pounds. He's still going to grow. But Kentucky was throwing a 7-footer and a 6'10-footer, if I'm not mistaken, at Zion. He was just going right through them, laying it up, shooting over them, just outplaying them. And it's like, if you can't put someone who's 5 inches taller than him and slow him down, who are you going to put on him?
Well, then they put guards on him, and he just blew right by him because he has the foot speed. Again, put some respect on his name. The name is Zion Wilson, not the Zion nonsense. He's Zion. He's a religious entity at this point.
Did you guys see what Steve Kerr said about him?
Oh, okay. We need to pump the brakes on the LeBron comparisons.
Well, but what he said was, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said when LeBron came out of high school into the NBA, we all thought that in our lifetime there wouldn't be another NBA player that young as physically, like a physical specimen of it, not the talent wise. They weren't talking about that. And you look at Zion, and you pretty much could see it. Like, he's jumping and running back and forth with all that great speed and power for someone who's 6'8", and just
285.
That's what I guess Steve Kerr was getting at. Of course,
that makes sense. But I'm gonna need you guys to say it with me. Zion, not Z. Zy. Say it with me, fam. Zion. Thank you.
Zion.
Put some respect on his name. But we should move on. As much as we love talking about some Zion,
I'm excited to move on here. We're gonna
go into some
college football. The top 4: Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame. Nick, don't get too excited. And Michigan. Then we are rounding out the top 10. Georgia's 5, Oklahoma 6, LSU is 7. Washington State is 8. West Virginia is 9. Ohio State rounding out the top 10 and 10. And just to please myself a little bit, and it pisses me off that they lost to a crappy Pitt team. But Syracuse is 7-2, and they're ranked number 13th now. Finally, we have relevant football in the state of New York. Sorry, Buffalo, this is not your time. Do you guys agree?
Sorry, we're 9-1 and going to a bowl and probably going to win the MAC. Sorry that we dominate every single game.
I hope we versus you guys in a bowl game. How about that?
Yo, we will. That will be painful. I don't want that. That's gonna hurt. Not that one team will win or lose. It's just that one team has to lose, and I want them both to win.
Nick, how do you feel about this top 4 right now? We still got teams Georgia, Oklahoma, who are outside the top 5, as well as Ohio State and Washington State who all have the same record as Michigan.
Is there anybody that we see beating Alabama, though, in any sort of capacity?
We'll find out.
Like maybe Clemson? Maybe Clemson?
I mean, again, you never know with the Iron Bowl. Auburn plays Bama hard. You never know.
I mean, they said the same thing about LSU.
And then they're going to have to play Georgia, I believe, twice. Once in the season and then once for the conference championship game. Although what I'm looking at is already the conference championship game. So if Alabama goes 1-1 in those games, Alabama makes the playoff.
So I think Alabama makes the playoffs and Alabama cleans up rather effortlessly. It doesn't seem like it's that competitive this year, as far as any team versus Alabama.
Well, if Michigan's defense continues to do what they're doing, I think they have enough to maybe slow down Alabama. But Michigan's offense has not scored of late, and they haven't been really pretty much the whole season. So for them to even go up against Alabama in that first playoff matchup will probably be disappointing. And I think Alabama, I mean, they finally have an offense. When's the last time you see a Nick Saban Alabama team be so dominant offensively? Usually their offenses are good because their defenses are so good that they get the ball in short fields. Now I want to play out a scenario here. If Georgia does beat Alabama, does Alabama still make the playoffs?
100%.
100%. Not even a question.
And Michigan gets out.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was debate on ESPN Radio today that Notre Dame should have still been 4. Michigan should have jumped up to 3. Nick would still have had that same energy about Alabama making it if Notre Dame was 4 instead of Michigan. The reason why they argued it was because strength of schedule, but Notre Dame does.
Well, I get that, yeah, but Notre Dame has that game against Michigan that they won earlier in the year.
Right.
So I think no matter what, if Notre Dame goes undefeated throughout the rest of the year, there's really no reason for Michigan to ever jump them.
Okay, so I'm not even worried about a team dropping out now of those four.
I am.
If Georgia beats Alabama, how do you not give Georgia the nod on making the top four?
You do.
You have a point.
No, you give them the nod, and honestly, Michigan still has an Ohio State game to play, and they still have a Big Ten championship to play. Notre Dame, again, I feel like their ranking at 3 is completely unwarranted. They're the worst team out of the 4. Who have they played outside of Michigan?
If you look at the conference standings and you look at conference wins, Notre Dame is 0-0.
No. But let me run down Notre Dame's wins. Michigan.
Awesome. Michigan, that's what you gotta say.
But week 1.
Ball State, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, Stanford, Virginia Tech.
A number 7 Stanford, a 24 Virginia Tech. A 13 Syracuse later in the year.
How many of those teams are ranked? They need to crush Syracuse for me to be like, oh, Notre Dame might be a good football team. This is the Manti Te'o Notre Dame all over again, where this team is actually trash. We just don't know it yet. And we're gonna watch them.
Syracuse is winning that game, by the way.
Yeah, and honestly, that will make everyone's lives easier.
By your logic, who did Michigan play?
They
lost Notre Dame. The best team they played this year was Notre Dame. Number 12 Notre Dame, they lost.
Again, they played a ranked Penn State. They have a much harder conference, and they still have to play Ohio State.
Right,
and they still have to play a conference championship game. They still have several tough games left to play. But again, they beat a Michigan State who's ranked 18. They crushed a number 20 Penn State. Absolutely obliterated them. That's a huge win for them. But they still have to go through Ohio State, and they still have to win a conference title. But again, if I'm the voters, I put Notre Dame at 4, and the second they lose to Syracuse, they're at like 13. Because Notre Dame is so overrated this year, it hurts my soul. Because they're overrated every year. Because they're still living off the Joe Montana, Tim Brown golden era, and it makes no sense. And it's all about the money. And I'm out of Zen. I'm out of my Zen. It's already gone.
I told you it wasn't going to take long.
Does UCF get asked out again, I'm assuming?
UCF's not even a crack top 10.
Who? I'm sorry, who?
UCF.
They should at least be top 3, top 4 bowl games.
Oh, man.
Well, they'll get a signature bowl game, but like
they're going to undefeated again and not even crack top 10.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. I hope they get sucked on a team like Oklahoma or maybe the LSU, or maybe they prove us wrong.
They need to angle into a real conference.
Yeah.
Rutgers style.
Oh yeah, because they're doing so well.
They're raking in that cash. That's all they care about.
Yeah, and that's the last thing that UCF wants. They want to bring in the cash. They want recognition. They want to be able to compete for the playoffs. We're gonna move on here, worldwide news, and Lyle, this is your forte here. Let me ask you a question. If I told you that there was going to be a team in New York City that plays the sport of hockey and be in first place, what would you tell me?
The Rangers.
No, I would tell you both teams are trash. If any of them are in first place, I would giggle forever. But as Justin is segueing to, the New York Islanders are 1 point ahead with a game in hand on the Blue Jackets in first place. The Islanders are 8-4-2, 18 points, but the Rangers are also on a 4-game win streak. They're not out of it yet. Let me tell you how tight the Metropolitan Division is. Between the first place and the last place, 5 points. 5 points. Yep. It is still very tight. It's still anyone's division. Again, it's not like the Atlantic where it's the first place is 23 points and last place is 9 points. The Metropolitan is going to be very tough. Again, I don't expect the Islanders to maintain. I don't expect the Rangers to do any good. They're both rebuilding. Well, the Islanders are in permanent rebuild because they're a garbage team and a garbage organization. The Rangers, we know, have very little talent. They're going off of energy and youth that eventually peters out. But again, hockey has been excellent. One of the quick notes to bring up was the Edmonton Oilers. If you want to see how real sports beef occurs, like I said a couple weeks ago, and how to defend your teammates, watch hockey. Lucic, dirty player. But one dirty player that you always want on your team. So another player, Bo elbows one of his boys. Lucic gives a little whack in the skates. The guy doesn't acknowledge him. Lucic is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put him to the ground. Clean shoulder check. and just puts his face in the other guy's face and just starts cursing him out because errant elbows to the face are not cool. Now, Lucic didn't go too far by going punches in the face, but he let the guy know there's a penalty for your nonsense. If the refs aren't gonna call the penalty, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna put you to the ground. And again, that's why I enjoy hockey because there's no time for bullshit.
Lyle's definitely out of his zen right now.
I'm out of my zen. I apologize for the curse word. I never curse on this show as much as I want to, but hockey does that to you. There's just no time for nonsense. Hockey gets down to the nitty gritty, and talk smack, get hit. That's how it works.
Yeah, we're gonna move on here to someone who Nick has grown very fond of because he's like the first relevant Greek athlete aside from the Greek freak in basketball.
Yeah, we're gonna overlook Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Tsitsipas.
Tsitsipas. Oh, I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. I only bring him up for one reason only. He is now being coached by the coach of Serena Williams. He said that he expects big things from him, and that so should you. Speaking of you as us, the fans, he goes on, quote, I received a message recently from one woman who said, because of me, 71% of the kids in Greek schools have chosen to play tennis. Tsitsipas told ESPN.com. So I was like, okay, I feel pretty proud of myself. I mean, no one played tennis before, and now it's 71%. Wow, it must be pretty nuts when I get back there. So, Nick, just based off your country, from where you're from, and the impact that he's been able to make just from from doing what he did in the U.S. Open back in September, and you were there, you were in Greece when he was playing. You said that you saw him playing live. What kind of impact do you think an athlete like that can make?
Well, it just brings relevance to the sport in Greece. Other than what's the name? The super play that we had a couple years ago, Bagdanis, I think his name was. People in Greece don't really watch the sport, and I was there. People were actually tuning in, even above certain soccer matches, and for people to be doing that in Greece just shows the love that people have for Tsitsipas, and it was just awesome to see. It sucks that he lost in the finals, but he was a tremendous athlete. He was a tremendous competitor, and honestly, it's something great to watch.
Yeah, and he's I believe he's 20 years old now. He was 19, I believe, when the tournament started.
His birthday was during the tournament.
Right. That's what it was. That's what
it was. August 19th, August 20th, something like that. I think it was the 20th. Not really sure, but
yeah. And he was actually the first Greek tennis player to crack the ATP Tour's top 100. He broke that streak back in October of 2017. So I expect big things from the Greek native there. Lyle, you want to go ahead and take this last piece of news from Worldwide News segment?
So, as everyone knows, the elections occurred. I wouldn't be mentioning the elections unless there was something sports related. And racing is sports related. To many people's happiness and very, very few people's sadness, Greyhound racing in Florida has been deemed illegal starting in 2020. Every single 11 out of the nation's 17 Greyhound racing tracks are located in Florida. The Florida measure passed with an overwhelming 69%. So there will be no more Greyhound racing in Florida. The only worry is that there are thousands of Greyhounds that are on breeding farms that might not have a home, but they have 25 and a half months to figure that out. The ASPCA, as well as many National Greyhound Association and tons of other organizations, are already working to get these Greyhounds adopted. So be on the lookout for adopting young Greyhounds from these farms, as well as celebrating the end of a pretty inhumane occupation for these dogs. And Florida did something right. Good job, Florida. 2020, getting rid of all these dog tracks.
Awesome, yeah, and that's good to hear that Florida is kind of doing something right for a change. Usually they're usually on the back end of doing stupid things. So, but yeah,
they had a couple of their referendums are nice, but this is the one sports related.
Right. So we're gonna move on to baseball here, and the only reason why I bring this up because it was a really big discussion some sports shows that I've been listening to throughout the course of the week. So, of course, the AL and the NL MVPs have not been announced yet. Lyle, I'll swing it to you here first. Just based off the top of your head, who do you think should win the AL MVP?
AL MVP, I believe it's going to be Mookie. I mean, the dude had a great season. He offensively, morale wise, he carried that team. He had an excellent season, and I hate that it's a Red Sox. I hate it. I don't like it.
So according to ESPN, he actually had a 10.9 WAR this year, which is ridiculous. I mean, basically, he gets you 11 more wins more than anybody else. Mike Trout had 10.2. There was discussion about Mike Trout having that because he had a better offensive WAR than Mookie Betts, but he did not have a better defensive WAR. What about the NL? Who do you think takes the NL MVP?
So the NL is a little bit not as clear cut for me, but I have to go with Javier Baez. Again, led the league in RBIs, 40 triples, 30 homers, 20 stolen bases, one-man wrecking crew, and he had excellent defense, played several positions. He was a workhorse for the Cubs. You take him off the Cubs team, they're a significantly worse team. They don't make it as far as they do. Javier Baez is my pick.
Yeah, he had a really, really good defensive WAR at 1.7. His batting WAR was 5.3. And now I'm not a WAR guy, but according to analytics, that's a big thing. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's going to be a sweep. Like, I can't say it's going to be unanimous. Actually, no, I think I could say that it's going to be unanimous. It has to be Christian Yelich. You saw what he was able to do with the Brewers team after coming over from Miami. That kid is just a beast. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to defend his players. When he came out and said what he said about Manny Machado for the dirty, play at first, I love a player like that. He's a guy who's going to be quiet and do what he does on the field, but then not hold back and be quiet when it comes to dirty plays like that. So I really loved what Christian Yelich was able to do. I want to get into, and we're going to get into some free agents here. We'll play, who we think these players are going to go. But I want to talk about your team, Nick, the Mets. They signed a new GM. What was it, like maybe early last week, late last week? Brody Van Wannergan. I can't even say his name, but he used to be a former agent. He actually used to be a former agent of David Wright. Young guy, analytical guy. And I have to say, I think this is a really good move for the Mets here. I think they went out, they got a young guy who's going to do analytical stuff for the team and maybe play it the way that they feel like it's going to play. But I have a feeling that you Mets fans, and yes, Nick, I'm talking to you and all our wonderful Met fan listeners, do you feel like a move like this is basically trying to tell their fans that, hey, yeah, we stunk last year, but we didn't trade DeGrom, and we're making moves towards the analytical side of things. Do you think that they're trying to imply and tell their fans that we're basically going, we're going to compete this year and try to make the playoffs?
I mean, every year a team should want to compete regardless. So trading away your best player is never really a good option. DeGrom being their best player, you want to hold them, no?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like DeGrom and Syndergaard, like the pitching staff can't stay healthy. You have no hitters on the team. You just brought in a new GM who may want to do things his way, and you're putting pressure on the organization by misleading, something that men do a lot, mislead your fan base, basically saying, hey, we're going to try to compete this year. I think the Mets should just try to take a step back. They should have tried to trade DeGrom or Syndergaard and just get some pieces and try to, build for the future, because I don't see them competing next year for a playoff at all. Why? What do you think?
This is a terrible idea with a terrible move. He has connections with CAA. I don't think he can do anything that's not unbiased towards his former employers. This is going to end so poorly, and we're all going to laugh because it's the Mets. And next year, it's going to be the first pitch, and the season will be over. LOL, rip the Mets. Let's talk about some real New York. I hope the Mets become relevant one day, but for good reasons. But let's talk about some real New York baseball. I'm going to swing it over to the Yankees, who are doing some things. They've re-signed They've re-signed Brett Gardner. They re-signed CC for another year of average pitching.
Average. Well, you do some average pitching.
Some average pitching. But we obviously know what we need, and what we need is not Bryce Harper. What we need is a starting pitcher that's under the age of 50 that weighs less than 420 pounds.
We have that. CC Sabathia.
Technically, yes, but obviously I'm exaggerating. We need starting pitching.
Yeah,
we need someone to come up behind. Again, I think we have Herman. I think he's going to come up this season, but we need someone behind. Not Nova. Why am I blanking? Severino and Happ. We need a third starter that's not CC. As much as I love CC, I love me some CC. He gives all Chunky Brothers hope.
Wasn't there talk of the Yankees going after Corey Kluber?
There was talk of Kluber. There's talk of a couple of free agents, but I don't think Kluber's the number one. I forgot who's his name.
We would have to trade for Kluber, and I don't think that's something the Yankees want to do because, like Lyle said, hey, if we bring back J Happ, and it's J Happ, not J Happ, people make that mistake. No, Lyle, I'm not saying calling it out because I used to call him J Happ all the time, but I recently learned that it's J Happ. If we do sign J Happ, which we're very confident that we do. I think he wants to be here, and I think we want him. Especially, listen, you can't get enough pitchers that can beat Boston, and he is a pitcher that can beat Boston. He has proven it throughout his career. I think we go after Patrick Corbin, born and raised New York City guy. He wants to pitch here. He's fought injuries early in his career, but with the D-backs, he has been dominant the past 2 years. D-backs are, unfortunately, because they spent a lot of money in the past few years on guys like Greinke and Goldschmidt, but Goldschmidt's probably going to be gone. I seen them possibly moving on from him. Greinke has another 2 years left on that massive deal that he got. He'll probably be moved on and or traded by the deadline. Diamondbacks are not going to compete. Corbin's moving on. If I had to pencil in one free agent, like not J Happ, not CC, not Gardner, none of those guys, one free agent that I'm like 100% confident the Yankees are going to sign is definitely Patrick Corbin because the Yankees know they need him. He knows the Yankees need him. We know that he needs us. The whole world knows that we need pitching, and Corbin is the top guy on the market that we could get without giving up any of our prospects. Lau, do you think he ends up being a Yankee?
I think he. So assuming we get J Happ, I do think we also take a run at Corbin. He does have the best WAR out of all the pitchers on free agency by almost 3.0. I think, yeah, in terms of Yankees, the Yankees, I think he is the must get for us over Machado, over Harper, over these big name hitters. Because again, I like our hitting. I like what's on our team in that respect. It's starting pitching is the problem. So hopefully we get that.
Overpay because he's 29 years old, and you're not trying to give this guy more than maybe 5 years, I guess you would say, because you'll get a solid 3 regardless of the last 2.
Well, that's what we said about CC, and he's still with us at 38.
Yeah, but CC is come on, you gotta admit he's one of his lifetime pitchers.
Just out of the free agents, he's the 6th best WAR. He's the 6th best out of all the free agents right now.
Right. Yeah, and Patrick Corbin would definitely be a good ad. I want to ask you some questions here, and you both could kind of spitball some teams. That way we could get over this really quickly. Machado, where does he ultimately sign?
The Giants.
Nick?
I think.
I agree. Huh? LA?
All right, we'll do that again. Nick, I'm going to type an answer for you to say.
Okay, Nick.
You're killing me.
All right, so where does Machado ultimately sign?
I think he ends up with the San Francisco Giants.
Possibly Phillies.
Yeah, Phillies is good because they're definitely going to be in the race for him. I do think ultimately the Yankees do get Machado. Didi's going to be out next year, most likely, like the whole year. It's a perfect opportunity to bring Machado, sucker him in a nice contract, pay him, let him play shortstop. Then when Didi comes back, you just throw him right back at third base. Lau, what about Bryce? Where do you think he ends up?
I think Harper ends up at the Phillies.
Wow, really?
I think the Phillies make the play.
Dodgers.
Yeah, I like actually Bryce going to the Dodgers as well. I would love for him to come to the Yankees and play first base. Scott Boras has been hyping that train up all week, and the reason why he's doing that because he knows that if he hypes up Bryce Harper playing first, and the Yankees are in the market for a first baseman, guess what every other team is going to do? Pay up in price for Bryce Harper, and that's what Scott Boras wants because ultimately he's the agent for Bryce Harper and he wants all that money. Corbin, I believe, was a clean sweep. We all think that he's going to come to New York and pitch for the Yankees. Lau, where do you think Keuchel goes this offseason?
So Keuchel is tough. Honestly, and this might come out of left field, I think he goes to the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, why do you think that? They're basically in rebuild.
They're in rebuild, but there's also just a lot of rumors pushing him towards the Reds. The Reds might overpay for a pitcher of his quality because they need to bring attendance for the first place. And I think this brings that excitement and is a good start to a rebuild having established ace.
Nick, what about you? I actually personally think Keuchel just stays in Houston.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see him leaving there.
Now, here's the wild card because this guy, he's getting old, but he has proven year after year in the past few years that he can still hit 35 to 40 home runs and still have a not killing you batting average. Lau, last player on this list, where does Nelson Cruz end up for the 2019 MLB season?
Again, this is a toughie. I think he ends up on Seattle.
So you think he stays in Seattle?
Yeah, I think he stays. Again, he is older. I think maybe not the hometown discount, but I think they offer him the length of contract that he's looking for because he is coming down to the end of his career. He wants job security over, a fat 2-year contract.
Nick, where do you think he goes?
Well, I think he stays in Seattle as well because there's an article posted that he wants to stay in Seattle. He's just waiting to hear back from the Mariners.
Yeah, I don't think he stays. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and says that he knows he's on the backside of his career. I think he goes and he tries to chase the ring. And the one team in which he can do that with is Houston. I think he goes to Houston. He gives them a big bat, someone who can play one of the corner outfields or first base if need be. Because if you look at that Houston team, their corner outfielders are basically rotating every game, every week, as well as their first baseman. So I do see Nelson Cruz possibly signing with them if he doesn't stay in Seattle. I think that's the only other option. We're going to go over here and move into some Week 9 NFL football. Say some of the scores pretty quickly. Bears 41-9 over the Bills. Chiefs 37-21 over the Browns. Jets lose on the road in Miami 13-6. Vikings 24-9 against the Lions. Falcons beat the Redskins 38-14. Panthers win against the Bucs. Steelers over the Ravens. Texans over the Broncos. Chargers over the Seahawks. Rams lose. No more undefeated teams to the Saints in the dome. Packers lose on the road in Foxborough against the Patriots, and then the Titans travel to Dallas, beat the Cowboys. Both teams were coming off a bye week. So we had some pretty good games there in Week 9. Some news that had transpired the past few days. Dez Bryant signs a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. Nick, what do you think? What do you feel about this move here?
I feel like that's a great acquisition for them. They were looking kind of depleted in the wide receiving game. Ted Ginn Jr. I think was injured a couple weeks ago out for the year. Again, they have Michael Thomas, but as far as the number 2 complement, they had what's his name? Traquan Smith.
I think that ends up being the 3 on that team, though.
Well, with the acquisition of Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm saying Cameron Meredith was supposed to have some potential for the Saints this year. Came back from injury, was absolutely irrelevant. Drew Brees is having a great year. He needs 1 or 2 extra weapons on the wide receiving core beyond Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and I think Dez Bryant gives a great productivity.
Let me paint you a picture.
Don't, because I've seen you paint before. It's not pretty.
No, this isn't pretty. Let me paint you a picture. 2 seconds left to go. New Orleans against the Patriots. New Orleans is down 4. They're at the 4-yard line. Drew Brees gets the ball. He lobs it up to Dez Bryant. Wide open in the end zone. and Dez drops it.
No, I thought you were going to say he catches it and fumbles. Not a catch.
He just drops it. I think this is a great acquisition, but I need that picture to happen to vindicate everyone ever. Because nobody except for like 3 Saints fans will be upset that Dez dropped it. Because now everyone can say, Dez dropped it.
Yeah, I think it's a good fit, though.
I'm here for it. No, it's a good move, but I just need them to get to the Super Bowl so Dez can drop the game-winning TD. That's all I need.
I think he could drop it before that. It doesn't have to be the Super Bowl. Le'Veon Bell has reported back to Pittsburgh, not the Steelers, and not the camp, not the team, not the facility, just Pittsburgh.
He just got tired of Miami.
Yeah, basically.
He's been there too long.
Yeah, he got tired of Miami. He tweeted goodbye Miami. He was spotted in the LA Fitness in Pittsburgh playing pickup basketball in the gym. Don't know what he's doing, and it's a shame. He's one of my favorite players, my favorite running back in the NFL. But I think what he has done and sitting out has completely backfired, and he is basically not going to get close to what he even would have got offered from Pittsburgh. Abdullah was waived by the Lions.
Oh, wait. Pause. We don't know if Le'Veon Bell is going to sign. As reported by as reported by the trash organization, The Athletic, who should come to join us because we're better than them. Le'Veon Bell may not decide to sign the franchise tag because if he goes for franchise tag in the next season, he gets an extra $10 million because he'll technically be a third-year franchise tag player.
Yeah, but he
might just be trying to screw the Steelers at this point. He doesn't care about football. He might be trying to screw the Steelers.
The Steelers wouldn't franchise tag him next year. And technically, according to Adam Scheffler, he's already put in his 4 years of being a pro. So after 4 years, despite the franchise tag, he's going to become a free agent no matter what next year, whether he signs and plays the 6 games or not. But I think him not playing would be dumb because then no one's going to offer you that money that you want after not playing from a year. No one's going to do that.
No, that is true. But I think what he is doing from a player perspective, he's doing something that the players need and showing that you can stick it to these owners who are running. Yes, James Conner looks great. Good for James Conner. The Steelers are not going to pay him either. He's going to run into the same problems Le'Veon Bell is going to run into.
Well, Le'Veon Bell take less money, so.
But the thing is, Le'Veon Bell is doing this for the premier workhorse running back. He's, as much people want to say it's arrogant, it's this and that, players get too much money. Le'Veon Bell this is a microcosm of what's going to happen at the next CBA.
Yeah.
This is the small test because we're probably going to have a lockout and it's going to look a lot like this.
We're going to go over here and talk about Abdullah really quickly. Second round pick, I believe, 3 years ago for the Lions. Before Kerryon Johnson this year, he was the last running back in the Lions backfield. 3 years ago, I believe it was his rookie year to rush for over 100 yards in the game. He was cut by the Lions and claimed off of waivers by the Minnesota Vikings to add some depth to that running back backfield. I want to ask you guys, there was a lot of good games this weekend, a lot of good games. And some teams impressed more than others. But Nick, I want to know, who's the team that impressed you the most this week?
I'm probably going to go with the Carolina Panthers. Again, it's probably a team that a lot of people don't like, but it's a team that people thought are riding a hot streak that would come to an end soon. And if you look at the Panthers' last several games, not even just the last game, against a mediocre Tampa Bay team with a hot Fitzmagic, the Panthers beat a good Philly team, which was, I think it was a come-from-behind victory against Carson Wentz and the Eagles.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly. They played a tough Baltimore team, which they dominated 36-21. And then they just had another offensive domination game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 42-28. Now, this is a team that week in and week out, people are saying they're going to dry up. They're not going to play as well. But Cam Newton, week after week, is showing that he's a good quarterback. Christian McCaffrey is doing the CMC things that he does, catching the ball out of the backfield and just being that kind of versatile player out of the backfield, whether it be in the run and the pass. Greg Olsen's back, by the way, and Greg Olsen's caught a couple of touchdowns in the last couple of games, and they're looking good. And again, it's a team that are flying under the radar, but they're dominating tough teams. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this year. It's been a while since they were, I think, 14-2 or whatever it was when they made the playoffs a couple years ago. But I just want to see if they can keep this up. They look good.
Yeah, and they're definitely playing with a lot of confidence. Devin Funches actually posted up a video before Sunday's game. It had that Mo Bamba song playing in the background, and it had like him dancing and Can throwing the ball and all of them catching. And his caption was, "We're gonna show them who the real number one offense is." So, and they're scoring. They're scoring. But all I have to do, in the words of Lao Style, don't get scammed. Do not get scammed. Lau, who's the team that impressed you the most in week 9?
It's the Saints. It has to be the Saints. They beat the best team in football, and they didn't just beat it. It was a good game. They took their shots. Each team went toe to toe. Marcus Peters got exposed repetitively, and Drew Brees' juice. He has me sipping on that Kool-Aid yet again. Yeah, they were the most impressive team because they beat the best team. Simple as that.
So I'm gonna jump in here and I'll go back. I'll tie into who's Nick's most disappointing team is. My most impressive win this week has to be the Titans. This is the Titans team that has struggled throughout the whole year. They're coming off the bye. They're 4-3. They won the division last year. The Colts have done nothing to show that they could win it. The Jaguars are falling apart. And the Texans are the Texans until they could prove they could be consistent with it. Who knows? They're coming off the bye week. They travel to Dallas, and they beat a Dallas team in which they were winning 28-14. And I give credit to that Titans defense because there's 2 times when the Cowboys were in the red zone. They stopped them 1 time, forced a field goal, which the Dallas kicker missed, which, yes, may say, hey, if he makes that, the game is different. But nonetheless, you stopped them in the red zone, sacked Dak, forced them back, they missed the field goal. And then the possession right after that, Dak Prescott ends up throwing a pick in the end zone. Yeah. So, I mean, their defense came to play. They held them to 14 points. That Zeke rushed for less than 70 yards, and their offense actually looked pretty competent. So
Corey Davis finally showing up.
Yeah, it's the Titans. I'm not saying anything about this team. I'm not confident in them.
Believe it or not, they're only one game away from the wild card.
Exactly.
And as bad as they've been playing all year.
Yeah, and I mean, and listen, this is a Titans team that did this last year. They were pretty much 500 throughout the rest of the year, and then they finished like with a 3-game winning streak, go into the playoffs and beat a Chiefs team on a very impressive play where Marcus Mariota threw a 2-yard bomb to himself for a touchdown. Nick, so go ahead and tell me who your most disappointing team of Week 9 was.
Well, yeah, my disappointing team was the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is a division that has been pretty terrible throughout the year. You have the Eagles, the Skins, and the Giants, who haven't really been doing well, have been losing a lot. And the Dallas and the Cowboys
a lot. Thank you for telling me.
And now, the point being, the Cowboys had a chance to possibly take the division against a subpar team that came to their house and they should have dominated. Now they lose 28-14. Now they drop to 3rd in the division. You have the Washington Redskins at 5-3, and you have the Philadelphia Eagles at 4-4. Now you're the Dallas Cowboys. You just added Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper looked good the first couple drives. We caught the first half before we left the bar we were at, and Cooper looked good. His usage was great. His routes are crisp. Now you made this acquisition that you paid a first round pick for him. You're clearly trying to win now, or you feel like you can push and make a playoff push. You lose this game against a subpar team. How does this look going forward? It's not good.
Not good. And I picked them to win the division this year. Lau, who was your most disappointing this year in Week 9?
Obviously, my most disappointing. It's got to be the Denver Broncos, man. Show some pride. Show something. Like, this is a team that has a good defense. This is a team that has decent weapons. And you all blamed the quarterback situation last year. But Vance Joseph is a joke. Today he pleaded with Demaryius Thomas to stop talking smack about their team because he can't handle it, even though they did Demaryius Thomas a little dirty on it. Like, show some pride, Denver. Like, Elway, if I was Elway, I'd be seething. I would have fired Vance Joseph yesterday. But Denver needs to show some pride because they have one of the best top 2 pass rusher in the league. the best rookie pass rusher in the league, a shutdown corner. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And you lost the ugly game, 19-17. Goodbye, Denver. Go be mile high in every other way. I'm done with you.
I think Vance Joseph, actually, if he doesn't get fired this year, he'll be on the hot seat next year. We're going to swing it over here to some New York Jets talk. The Jets traveled to Miami and played in what was an ugly game. They end up losing 13-6 against Brock Osweiler, who threw for 139 yards on 15 of 24 passing. He had a rating of 78, which is pretty bad. But you know what's even worse than a 78 quarterback rating? A 32 quarterback rating.
Whatever Dak Prescott got.
Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had a 31.8 QB rating. He was sacked 4 times with a loss of 27 yards. Threw for 229 yards on 21 of 39 passing. And basically, I don't know if it was Nathan Peterman with the mask of the Incredibles enemy, the guy who looks like Sam Darnold quarterbacking on Sunday, but he threw 4 picks, and that's such Nathan Peterman like. And Nick, you showed your frustration in the chat to us, saying that you tell us what you come to the conclusion. I think you're still being premature about it, but tell us what your conclusion on Sam Darnold is.
Well, I'm just getting back to the feeling of how I felt during the NFL draft time period, where Sam Darnold's just a subpar quarterback, and we're just overrating him. Oh, Lyle, don't give me that damn look.
3 years. Every quarterback deserves 3 years.
Are we supposed to suffer? All right, so Peterman deserves 3 years.
He does.
Oh, come on.
No.
He deserves 3 games.
In Nathan Peterman's case,
3
he
games.
has shown nothing. Where Sam Darnold showed what he can do. He can make throws that very few quarterbacks can make.
I wish Spencer Long didn't have the excuse of a right thumb with all the terrible. Like, it's kind of hard to make a judgment on Sam Darnold.
There are no excuses for Spencer Long. So Sam Darnold had an awful game. There's no denying that. Is he the only one at fault? No. The entire offense was abysmal. The play calling was trash. When you're a rookie quarterback under pressure from a solid, okay pass rushing team, and you're getting shotgun snaps left, right, and center, your time is going to be off. You're going to make mistakes. So yes, I do hold Sam Darnold accountable, but Spencer Long should have been pulled well before he was pulled. And if he was injured, maybe Todd Bowles should make a coaching decision.
But this was an injury that was determined like 2 weeks ago, and I don't understand why we still have him in the goddamn game.
And he's been making terrible snaps for the past 3, 4, 5
last
weeks.
game he snapped it over his head. Every snap is lowered to the high and outside. I don't understand why we kept him in the game for so long at a very winnable game at that.
Again,
and even when we were in positions to score, we were just throwing terrible. He made terrible reads. Threw a pick 6. We were earlier in the game. I think it was tied at 3-3. We were on like the 35-yard line of Miami, and he throws a pick. I forgot to who, but it was just awful. It was just awful decisions, and it makes you question him. Like, yeah,
well, that's why I want to talk to you and all that. On draft day, I had my gripes, like, another USC quarterback that can't play in cold weather. He's going to be garbage. But then you have to breathe and go, all right, he's a rookie quarterback. He's got some talent. We have to give him his time to develop. We can't press the emergency button.
Can I ask you another question?
If this was a win now team, I'd be pressing the emergency button. But this is not a win now team.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes, you can ask. Yeah.
If Josh McCown replaced Sam Darnold in most of these games this year, do you think we have a winning record?
Closer to 500 than you think.
I think we beat the Dolphins.
Think so.
I think we would have beaten the Dolphins this week, and I think we would have beaten the Browns the week we were up 14-0 or whatever it was. And we would have beaten the Dolphins the first time we played them because Sam Darnold, we were driving to tie the game, and he throws a pick in the end zone to Terrell Pryor.
I think we would have played a much different game. That's why I can't predict that, but I think we still would have had a losing record.
I think at the very least we would have been 500.
So to close this out, in the first half of the game, the Jets had 6 drives. Their first 2 resulted in 3 and out. Then the first time that they actually got a first down, Sam Darnold threw a pick on the 4th play. So right after he got the first down, he threw a pick. Then he had 2 more drives after that, which were 3 and outs. Not to mention, they were both 3-and-outs, and you both got 5 yards on both of those drives. And then the drive right before the half, 7 plays, 45 yards, led to a field goal. So you guys didn't score until 51 seconds left in the first half. You have 4 of your 6 possessions in the first half, all were 3-and-outs. You guys just couldn't move the ball, and I don't know. I didn't watch the game. It's hard to tell if you guys couldn't move the ball because of Darnold or because that field was garbage and everybody else.
And also, our starting field position was like on average the 18-yard line. It was horrible.
So, for the record, that was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched. Either both defenses played out of their minds or both offenses were so inept. But we should never talk about this game again because it was one of the worst games of football.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on here. We were going to talk about the Giants, but really quickly, Kyle Lauletta pulled a Robbie Anderson and tried to escape from the police in a vehicle.
Apparently, almost ran the cop over.
Yeah, he ended up getting arrested. I just viewed this as just a setback for him. I don't think he was going to start after the bye week anyways for the Giants. I don't think he was ready, but I do think he was a lot closer had this not happened. Now that this happened, it is very likely that Eli plays roughly another handful of games before Lauletta takes the reins and probably plays maybe the last week or two.
Where's Geno?
Who?
Geno Smith, the greatest quarterback alive.
Oh, the guy that you guys drafted and moved up for in the second round, thinking that he was going to be the next franchise quarterback.
I don't know.
Yeah. He did beat the Patriots.
I actually think he's on the Chargers
now. Where's David Webb?
Your team.
Yeah,
I know. I just like back up for next week.
So let's do our picks, fellas. Let's do our picks. So this is as of Wednesday, November 7th. You guys will probably be listening to this either Thursday night or Friday morning. So
I caught that.
So
well, hot dog.
So we'll do this pretty quickly here. So we got a hot Carolina team traveling to Pittsburgh to face a hot Pittsburgh team. Pitt is -3.5. Nick, who do you got?
Ooh, I know this is going to be a really good game. I am going to roll with the home team in Pittsburgh.
So Nick has the Pittsburgh Steelers covering the 3.5. Lau?
Pitt.
All right, that's a clean sweep for us. I do think this game is going to be really, really close.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish it was at 3, and then I definitely would have been a lot more confident. But right now, I take the hotter team at home. Buffalo is traveling to New York to verse the goddamn Jets. Josh Rosen. Yeah. Josh Allen should be back this week. It's not 100%. He has not practiced yet, so I doubt he plays. I'm not talking about who we're taking or who's going to win this game. I'm talking about the over and under. The over under is 36.5. This is the lowest I've seen the over under, I think, this season. I would not be surprised if that's the lowest it's been. At the lowest it's been all season. Sam Darnold has been ruled out with a foot injury. Josh McCown is going to try to get his inner Ryan Fitzmagic on and try to lead this Jets team to a better offensive output that they did have last week. Lau, what do you have? Over under 36.5 points this game?
Over.
Nick?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be at this game, so I'm a little excited to see Josh McCown going at it again. But this should go over.
I kind of want to go under only because I don't see the Bills scoring. The Jets defense isn't bad, and the Bills, I can't see the Bills scoring that many points on them, especially at home against the Jets, who just came off a sweep against the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to take the under on this. I think it stays under 37 points.
I mean, with McCown playing, I can see the Jets putting up upwards of 20 points. So
Buffalo is actually very good against the pass. Is you have to get them on the ground game, which so far has not seemed to be very efficient for you guys. Last week, you guys couldn't run against Miami. But that was an ugly game. We'll see what happens here. We have the third game on this is Washington travels to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is -3. Nick, who do you got?
I have... I'll probably go with the Redskins.
Lyle?
I believe Fitzmagic is starting, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he replaced a younger quarterback, right?
Yep.
And he's on a contract year?
Yeah, but I don't think that has anything.
Never bet against Fitzmagic when he steals a job on a contract year. Tampa Bay all day.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa Bay as well. Washington kind of showed me who they really were last week. they couldn't get anything rolling against an Atlanta team that has a worse defense than Tampa Bay, and they were home. AP couldn't get anything going, so I'm going Tampa Bay. I had them covering the -3 and the -3. Lau, who do you got between Jacksonville traveling to Indianapolis? Indianapolis is -3. Both teams are coming off a bye.
I have to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Nick?
Is Leonard Fournette coming back yet or not?
He is coming back this week. Practice in full.
That's the difference maker right there. I'm going with Jacksonville.
I'm going with Jacksonville too, and I think that they're gonna turn it around this second half. Bold prediction: Fournette is going to average a touchdown per game for the rest of the season. Doesn't mean that he'll score one every game, but he'll probably score 2 one game, and you guys know the math.
Yeah, I get it.
Last game on this list, which I think is going to be a very interesting game because of how impressive I felt like Tennessee was last week. New England is -7 on the road against Tennessee. Lau, who do you got?
New England, like impressive against a trash Cowboys team.
Malcolm Butler got something to prove.
Yeah, Malcolm Butler has something to prove. Sure, but do you know who's on the other side? Do you know who's on the other side of that? His name is Bill Belichick. If Malcolm Butler's shutting down some of the field, he'll throw away.
I'm disappointing you.
What do you mean disappointed? I'm here to win.
I said Malcolm Butler.
We're here to win the game.
Malcolm Butler has something to prove, right? And you said, you know why he has something to prove? Because the guy who's on the other side. You know who?
No, I said, on the other I said, you know why that doesn't matter? You know why that doesn't matter? Because Bill Belichick's on the other side, and he'll throw away from him if Malcolm Butler's having a career game.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
On the other side of Malcolm Butler.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm talking about the other sideline, if that helps.
No, Josh Gordon, baby. Josh
Gordon. Okay, firstly.
But the works.
Oh, you're a fraud.
Butler.
Lau's a fraud.
Okay, first. No, you
I
first.
tell you, Josh Gordon's the greatest receiver of all time.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I give you an opportunity to shamelessly plug him into your arguments, and you didn't take it.
I don't need to plug Josh Gordon. Everyone who listens knows I am in love with Josh Gordon. Pause. Everyone knows. I did that for. I did that for.
I would have made that. I would have made that
joking.
We gotta make that into a drop. Nick, who do you got on this game?
It's funny to see that it's -7 New England. I still feel like that's too low. I feel like the spread should be like 14.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm going with New England -7.
Yeah, so we split that. So the only game that we have different. I have the under on the Jets game. You guys have the over. Both Lau and I have Tampa -3. Nick, you have Washington covering that. We're gonna move on to our last segment here. But before we do that, we have a very special segment of Lyle Goes Wild. Lyle, the floor is yours.
So, I'm here today to discuss something.
Zen.
I'm Zen. I'm here today to discuss something that's been bothering me a little bit when it comes to sports and advertising and things like that. I understand that companies have their own agenda and sports players have their agenda, and everyone has their own agendas competing and going this way and that way. But can you not ram it down my throat? Can you be gentle with it? Like, I'm here. Again, I'm not saying, I would never say to a basketball player, shut up and dribble. No, you are a person, you have a voice, and you have a platform to express your voice. But don't go into a commercial that you're there to sell a product and try and sell me the fact that you're doing this for the good of the people. Sell your products, do your good of the people, but don't shove the product as if it's good for the people. An example, Nike. Again, I thought their ads were great. I thought they were very important, that anyone can do anything. And they empowering, but at the end of the day, Nike's there to sell products. Nike's there trying to sell you Nike products. And I think people lose the fact that they're trying to use all the socialness to sell. So Nike, what I want you to do is do nice things 100%, but don't use the nice things you do to ram your products down my throat. Separate the two, because then I find your nice things very disingenuous. Colin Kaepernick, I know you need to get paid since no one's in the NFL. So again, I understand why you took the contract, and I understand the whole campaign. But make sure you're being really, really, really careful that you're not looking disingenuous. And I'm not accusing you of doing that yet. But make sure you don't look like you're the person who's using the cause for profit. You don't want to be that guy because you are, for the most part, doing great things with the cause that you're promoting. But make sure it's not like, oh, he's only doing this now for the money. And it's going to have to be the players and athletes that make sure that distinction is made, because the companies don't care about the players at the end of the day. Nike couldn't give two damns about Colin Kaepernick, the person. They give two damns about him, the marketing tool. So companies, if you want to raise sales, definitely raise awareness, but at the same time, separate it a little bit. Make sure you're not just profiting off of, you're not doing that neo-capitalist ideal of using social justice for profit, and try and separate it a little. And athletes, be careful that these companies aren't using you and your political agendas to make a profit off of you, because that's just a bad look for your future and your legacy. Again, I kept it zen, and I think that's it. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I felt uncomfortable with a few things you were saying there, but that is neither here or there, and I would like to keep this PG-13. So moving on here.
Oh, okay. When you say uncomfortable, not that you disagree or agree, my phrasing is just terrible at all times.
At all times. It was pretty much
most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. We're going to move on here to the NBA. We have some impressive teams thus far. Both the Raptors and Warriors are in first place in their respective conferences at 10-1. And then you have the surprising Denver Nuggets sitting at 9-2. Here, I want to start off before we move on to some Knicks talk, just amongst those teams pretty quickly here. Anybody you're shocked about being where they are in standings thus far?
So, really quickly, I want to talk about the Pelicans, because they are currently in a free fall from their glorious start.
Which you were so hyped about?
I was very hyped about. The Pelicans are now 5-6. They finally won a game, but they're 4-6 in the last 10. Again, so that means if they're 4-6 in the last 10, it's just not a good look right now. They lost 6 games on the fly when they were 4-0. They'll get it together. But it's a little shocking that they just. It's not. It's shocking, but also it just shows how competitive the West is, because most of their losses, again, Clippers, Warriors, Nuggets, Thunder, Raptors, top tier teams outside of the. Completely different. Sorry, those weren't the teams, but they played top tier teams in their losses. They'll get it together. They're going to be one of the premier teams, but it's surprising. Again, sorry, Warriors, Blazers, Nuggets, Spurs, Thunder. That's who they lost to.
Right. So they lost to some good teams here.
Yeah. So again, it just shows where they are right now compared to the elite of the West.
Right. Nick, are you concerned at all about the Lakers? Nick, are you concerned at all with the Lakers? Now they're 4-6, but if you look at their schedule, they played a lot of good teams. They lost the first game to the Blazers away at Portland. Then they lost to the Rockets, and then they lost to the Spurs. They start off the season 0-3. Those are 3 teams I fully expect to be on the top portion of the Western Conference playoff bracket. But then they beat the Suns. They beat a really good Nuggets team. They went back to San Antonio, lost to the Spurs again, lost to a Timberwolves team, which I think they could have beaten, but Timberwolves, I think we could all pretty much agree on that they're being underwhelmed this year. But then they beat the Mavericks, and then they go ahead and beat the same Trailblazers team that beat them previously in the season. What do you think about the Lakers thus far? Do you think they should be in panic mode, or just the early season struggles with the new team being put together?
Well, again, it's practically a kind of a new team coming to LA. What I want to bring up is the fact that they just lost to a Kawhi Leonard-less Raptors team, where they were losing by, I think it was like 25 in the first quarter. LeBron is LeBron, so with him, you always have a chance to win. And again, it is pretty much a fresh team. Rondo did miss a couple of games. due to suspension when he got into the fight with Chris Paul. Ingram, I think, was also suspended a couple of games. So there was a little fallout within the team. But again, give them a little time. They're not too far out. It's still early in the season. Again, you still have LeBron James, the best basketball player in the NBA. Just give it time. If in the halfway point they're still looking as bad as they are now or as inconsistent as they are now, then it's a key to worry.
Right. Let's talk about the Knicks here for a bit. Lyle, our rookies are looking really, really good here. We have Alonzo Trier, who has kind of come out of nowhere. He's playing 23, basically 24 minutes a game, averaging 12 points, grabbing 3.6 rebounds a game, averaging 8 assists, not really doing much on the defensive side of the ball, but he's scoring for this team coming off the bench. He's been very well at that 2-guard position. You have Kevin Knox, who, yes, starting off slow this year based off because of the injury. But then you can look at the 2-year players, right? Damian Dotson. We drafted him last year as a 3-and-D guy, some guy who come in, lock up on defense, which he's proven that because he's averaging 1 steal per game and averaging only 2 fouls per game. So to have that kind of defensive efficiency is really good. He's grabbing 6 rebounds a game, and he's also averaging 13 points a game. So he's being very well for the Knicks right now. I think his numbers will come down a bit when Knox is fully healthy, because I think the reason why Dotson is doing so well is because he's getting the opportunity. What are your thoughts on this young Knicks roster so far, Lyle?
Okay, so let me talk about the Knicks roster. We're talking about the most polarizing player. Let me start with Frank. Let me get that out of the way. I like the way Frank's looking. He's scoring a little bit more. He's defending excellently, and he is the team leader in assists per game. Love what Frank's doing.
With 3.8, not that impressive.
Yeah, not that impressive. But again, he's not there to score, but he is upping his scoring numbers. Great. Let me talk about Mitchell Robinson. I love this kid. I'm glad he's knocking Lance Thomas out of the rotation, because Mitchell Robinson, I think, is going to be an excellent center. And as Cantor can't play defense, it is what it is. But Trier, Dotson, Noah Vonleh, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, as I said, Hezonja, they're all super young. And this is the time, while Porzingis is out, we need to pick which young players we want to keep Kristaps, and get that other superstar. Which young players will transition well when we get that other superstar in, when we get Porzingis in. That's what, honestly, if I'm Fizdale, I'm building a defensive juggernaut, and I'm seeing who will mesh well with the future. And I love Dotson. I love Trier. He needs to learn how to pass, but I love Trier. Somebody said a couple days ago that he's reminding people of a young John Starks, which would be great. I love me some John Starks. Again, we have our flaws. We are only, I believe, 4-8. We did beat the trash Atlanta team today with the worst draft pick of all time. So, we're beating who we need to beat, but we're staying competitive in most of these games. I like what Fizdale is doing. I like the way our defense is going. Again, we just need that. We need that star. We need that Porzingis. And, I'm, as a Knicks fan, I'm content.
Yeah. Let's respectively mention that the Nets, as of right now, are in the playoffs. If the playoffs should start today. Actually, no. I guess they lost today, because now they're 5-6. They were originally 5-5 ahead of the Pistons, so I guess they lost today. So they're not. So let's respectively not mention them again for the rest of the podcast. I want to talk about really quickly. Did you see what Scott Fizdale did with Bernard King the other day? So he invited him to the Knicks practice.
Trying to talk to Knox.
To talk to Knox, yeah. And I really like that he did that. I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't have the talent on his team. He just has a bunch of young bucks that hurt Porzingis. Fizdale has to do something to kind of shake things up. So I really like that he did that. I'm surprised it took Fizdale to finally realize this when we had so many other coaches come through this organization. Clyde Frazier, for the love of God, he calls the games. How come you can't get him to come to practice?
Well, no, let's be honest. He probably goes to the practices. It's just not a big deal.
We'll see. I'm gonna have to
I
look
can
into
imagine.
that.
Also, I think he speaks way too smoothly for the young folk to get, because he's always dishing and diamond. He's always smooth like silk.
Percolated.
So like he's percolated.
So, did you guys hear the interview with LeBron? It's basically so this year they kind of copied what the NHL does, which I never even knew the NHL does this. They're doing a 24-man team all-star live draft on TV. Nick, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that's better than what's been going on. It's more exciting, I would feel. It's like the more of like a sheep ball vibe. Like you feel more engaged. I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, last year they did the same thing, but they did it behind closed doors just to not hurt people's feelings. But it's the All-Star game. Or people go, "Oh, LeBron, you're gonna pick me fifth. You're not my friend anymore." They're adults. I hope they can handle it. Like again, the audience votes for the 22 All-Stars and the captains. The captains could be like, "All right, I want to create a redonkulous team. You know, let's have some fun." NBA, let's remember this is fun. It's the All-Star game. No one cares.
Yeah, it's gonna stink though to see live who's gonna be that 24th player picked. I'd be pretty upset if I was the last one taken.
Nah, that gives them a motivation. Mr. Irrelevant puts up a quintuple double.
Oh.
So be points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks.
So the last thing I want to talk about before we close out this podcast is sportsmanship. Now, I know we're going to have probably a lot of mixed feelings about this. I want to go four things first. So the other day, Kyrie Irving was fined $25,000 for throwing the ball into the stands at the ending of the loss against Denver. Jamal Murray had 48 points going into the last 5 seconds of the game. They were basically up by 10 points, I want to say, maybe 8 points. Game's over. With 2 seconds left, Jamal Murray takes a shot from 3-point range to try to get 50 points and above. Respectively, he probably did it for a personal, achievement, which, to score 50, that's understandable. Kyrie Irving didn't like it. Takes the ball, says something to him, chucks it into the stands. After the game, he says, there's an unwritten rule in basketball that you don't try to run up the score like that. You just dribble the ball out. You do what you got to do, so on and so forth. Another thing that happened about a week before that was the Michigan State game, which before that, there was a Michigan player chopping his cleats up on the middle of the field.
I feel like there's a difference between the two, though. That guy was just being a douche.
Yeah, okay. And then you also have, the next thing I want to mention really quickly, bat flipping in baseball. The only reason why I bring that up because there's a new commercial. I don't know if you guys saw it during the playoffs. I just have rewatched it today for the first time. I actually I feel like I've never seen it before. I probably did. I probably just didn't recall it. Ken Griffey Jr. is talking in the background and is showing baseball players diving and like laughing, hitting the home run and bat flipping, getting excited and showing emotion on the field. And a lot of old time baseball fans don't like when baseball players do that. You hit a home run, you walk around the bases with a sad face on because you can't be excited. You gotta act like you've done it before. And then Ken Griffey ends the commercial saying, "Let the kids play," which is I found that would be pretty cool. The last thing I want to mention is Kevin Byard. He's a guy that picked off the ball off Dak Prescott in the red zone, like how I mentioned earlier. Did you guys see his celebration? He ran to the middle of the field, on the Cowboys field, and he put the hands up.
Terrell Owens did.
Terrell Owens did. Okay, and Byron Jones, corner for the Cowboys, went there and hit it from behind and tried to break it up. He kept it moving.
He didn't hit him. He gave him a little shove.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hit.
It was all sad, but it was a shove.
Nick, I'll start off for you here first. Just based off sportsmanship. Well, what do you feel about some of these situations here? Do you think that sometimes the bragging, the Jamal Murray shooting at the last shot of the game, the bat flipping, do you think sometimes we need to get away from the past in sports and just get with the new, or do you think there are sometimes unwritten rules in these sports?
I mean, for instance, the 4 that you mentioned now, I feel like you have to take it down situation by situation. Like the Jamal Murray, that's just a accomplishment he's trying to do. There was no intent of running up the score. Kyrie is just being a little sensitive there. Now the Michigan State, that was a little dirty. Like you go on the opposing field and you're trying to chop up the logo in midfield. That was pathetic. That was disgusting. That's not what football is about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love rivalries. I love the fighting, the trash talking during the game, but that's not something you should be doing. Now the gloating on the Cowboy star, that could go either way. He's just trying to rile up his team. Terrell Owens did it like back in the days. It's a fun thing to try to do. I see where they're both coming from. And the bat flipping, I think, is just cool. I don't feel like there's really much disrespect to it. But again, these are all like situational things. I think it's more of the intent and like whether or not you're trying to like demoralize and degrade the other team. Some people like it, some people don't. It hypes up some teams. Some teams find it pathetic and sad. It depends who it is.
So if we take a situation with Jamal Murray's 50 points, if you don't want him to score, defend him.
Play defense.
Yeah, that's simple. But like when Jamal Murray did that thing with the Lakers where he's dribbling around people, that's dumb. That's childish. Again, you have to think, would I be mad about this? And most of the time you're like, he's trying to get 50. Nah, I would try and get 50 too. Yes, there are unwritten rules. The Michigan State thing, there was like 15 different things that happened. Michigan State was walking across the field doing their, pregame whatever, and that guy wouldn't move, and then he got pissed and ripped up the field. Again, yeah, it's not sportsmanlike. But would I say, oh my God, the world's ending? No. Again, the field gets repaired. They play the game. Nothing super dirty happened during the game. They kept it isolated. I will say, as funny as I found the whole Kevin Bayard thing, that was super unsportsmanlike. There's a reason why T.O. got clapped. That's one thing. Yes, every single person would be ticked off. Again, as a viewer, I found it funny, but that's unsportsmanlike. Bat flipping 99 times out of 100, perfect. Pitchers screaming after they strike you out in a huge out, amazing. But if it's a pitcher, you're up 10 runs and you strike some dude out, and you start screaming and chanting and yelling, we know it's personal. You can tell. If it's excitement, genuine excitement for the game, that's always acceptable, as long as no one gets hurt. If it's doing something to personally attack another player, that is unsportsmanlike. Some of the bat flips are personal. Some of the yelling is personal. When you go to stand on the center field of the Cowboys arena, that goes towards personal. It's depends where you go. Kyrie Irving, the reason why I'm happy Kyrie Irving got fined, because when you throw a ball into the crowd that's turning around to leave because your sorry team lost, you could injure someone. You don't know what people have. You hit someone in the head, dude. If you don't know, they could have a screw in their head. You knock it loose, they're dead. You could have killed someone, Kyrie. You could have killed someone.
So I have a problem with I think we all do with the Kevin Bayard going to the Star. I loved it. I hate the Cowboys, so
I think we all found it hilarious.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's entertainment.
Here's where my problem lies. We all agree that it's very disrespectful to do that.
Yes.
That's very unsportsmanlike to do that.
Yes.
If they did it on the Jets field, you as a fan would have ran on the field to hit him.
I would have clipped his knees.
Oh, I mean, I would have Nancy Kerrigan him. Absolutely.
Okay.
Would have bit the curb.
This is exactly what's wrong with this Cowboys team. And if a coaching change doesn't happen, there's not going to be a culture change. Why was Byron Jones the only one?
I was just about to say that.
Up to that puddle
with a silly shove.
All he did was a silly shove. Nonetheless, you still got to give him respect. He actually tried to do something. What the hell was? I was about to curse.
The whole offense.
What the hell was
the offense?
Where was the rest of the team? How are you going to let someone disrespect?
Well, not the rest of the team. You're not allowed to come from the sideline, but the whole offense.
So what?
The whole offense is there.
I get thrown out the game.
No, all right, that's you're wrong for anything.
You get thrown out the game if you have to do that.
But he's not wrong.
Change of possession. If I'm the defense, I could come out and hit them. I'm coming on the field for a change of possession. It's turnover on that. It was turnover in the end zone. I could argue that point. Regardless, whether you're on the sideline, you're on the offense, whatever the case may be, no one was there to defend that star, which is exactly why the Cowboys are going to be a joke for the rest of the season. And I'm ashamed that I picked them to win the NFC East. But I'm sorry, that was so disgusting. When I saw it, I was laughing. but they have to. They have to. Like, come on.
Like,
Defend.
you don't do what they did to T.O. and just, like, side hit, like, knock him over. But you get up there and be like, yo, get off the star. Like, go to your sideline. Like, we're already
Hey,
depressed.
dude, it's not cool.
Yeah, like get up in there. Like, no, but, like, you're America's team. Which, again, Stephen A. Smith had a really interesting segment on 5 reasons why the Cowboys are terrible. And it was like Dak Prescott, Jason Garrett, Jerry Jones. And then one of them was the moniker of America's team. Because he was like, if you're going to be America's team, you can't be this. And honestly, you're not America's team. You're garbage. You're awful. And he went, it's like, this is the greatest nation on earth and doing Stephen A. Smith's thing. But he's not wrong. That's not America's team anymore. And I think they have to recognize that if they're going to build to what they want to do. But again, what Kevin Byard did was unsportsmanlike. What the Dallas Cowboys did was soft.
Oh, super soft. I don't even think I think that's an understatement, to be honest, what they did. Nonetheless, before we close out this podcast, I want to say there has been some breaking news. It actually came out a little bit earlier today, but it just was brought to my attention. Tim Tebow was promoted to AAA in the Mets organization.
Is he a sportscaster yelling about, things that nobody agrees with?
I don't know, but that just shows you how much of a joke Nick's favorite baseball team is in the New York Metropolitan. So we're going to end this episode with that. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and rate on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JNJTalksports. Later.
See you guys.